welcome to my channel. My name's Rebecca. This practice today will be a yin flow. So if you are feeling overwhelmed or stressed or your mind is racing, you've come to the right spot. This is where we're going to just slow it down and allow ourselves to melt, surrender, release, relax. Let's begin in a comfortable seat, closing the eyes. And simply tuning in, and notice your capacity for breath. Can you start to deepen the breath? Taking in more prana, more chi, more energy, vitality. Feeling the lungs fill from the top to the bottom. So as we slow it down, we can start to cultivate a deeper sense of connection, of presence, just in our own bodies, taking the senses inward. Soften. If you've closed your eyes, gently fluttering the eyes open. Torso circles, taking your torso out and around the right, to the left, to the front, to the back. These could be small. They could be big. It's not about getting it right. It's about feeling what is right for you. And reverse the circle, take it in the other direction. Make your way back to center, side bend to the right. Right hand reaches out, left arm reaches up and over. Relax right ear to right shoulder. Anchor down through that left hip as you reach left fingertips in the opposite direction, drawing left shoulder blade onto your back, letting it glide toward the spine. You might gaze down to the floor, the horizon, up toward the ceiling, noticing what feels right for you. Keeping the bicep along the ear, lift and stack the head on top of the shoulders. And I want you to draw left ear to shoulder, shoulder to ear, and then we're going to do a little pull here with that left arm, dragging left shoulder away from the ear, and then reach it up, hiking shoulder to ear, ear to shoulder, and then pull it away and soften. 3 more like this. This final one, hold it. Reach left fingertips down toward the floor, away from the top of your head. Inhale and exhale. And then we'll switch. Left hand comes out to the side, right arm reaches up and over, side bend. Left hip is heavy down toward the floor. Left ear drops toward left shoulder and left shoulder drops away from the ear. And draw right shoulder blade onto your back toward the spine. And find that just right position for the gaze, whether it's up, horizon, down. head lifts, bicep remains along the ear. And then we will draw the ear toward the shoulder toward the ear, and a little pull here, bending right elbow and stretching through the side of the right side of the neck. And then ear to shoulder to ear, and let it pull away. 3 more. Final one, and we will hold. Right fingertips reach away from the top of the head. Breath deepens. And bring head back on top of shoulders. We will uncross the legs. We're going to find a windshield wiper shape or a pinwheel with the legs. Hands come back behind. And then we're just going to take the knees from side to side. And start to add the arms with it. As the knees drop over to the left, right arm is going to reach back, so we get a side body and a low back stretch. And then take them over to the right and reach that left arm back. To the left and to the right. The next time your knees come over to the right, hold it here. Keep that reach, reaching off to the right hand side. And slow and deepen the breath. Once again, tune into your breath, creating and cultivating that deeper sense of presence in your body. In this practice of yin, we're targeting the connective tissue, the fascia, the ligaments, the tendons. You can stay in this posture here, which is essentially it's a hip opener, a version of pigeon. If you wanted to deepen into the stretch and take it into a pigeon, turning toward the top of your mat, squaring your hips and shoulders toward the front, and then lengthening that left leg back, and then perhaps softening forward, coming onto forearms, or forehead resting down onto the hands. So fascia, the image I like to bring to mind would be an orange, like one segment of the orange. It is covered in a clear, thin film, if you will. Even each little piece of pulp that contains the juice is covered in it. That is like the fascia in our body. That is around individual muscle fibers, muscle bundles, like the muscles in the calf, the quad, the hamstring. But each muscle group has single fibers that are wrapped in this fascia. So in these longer held stretches, we are targeting that fascia to add some more fluidity, stretch. And if you find the mind is still busy, just bring your awareness back to the breath. Make your way to a modified side plank. Hands walk back toward the hips, torso lifts. We're going to come onto that right knee, sweep it over to the right hand side. Left toes reach to the back of our mat, and then right arm reaches toward the top. Pressing down into that right knee, hips lift. Left shoulder blade rolls toward the spine. And then drop right ear down toward right shoulder. Add a little movement to the left shoulder. We're going to reach left hand up toward the ceiling, broadening across the collarbones, opening across that upper chest, and then exhale, thread left arm underneath the right side of the torso. Inhale, lift it up. Exhale, thread. Inhale, lift. One more. Hold it here, inhale and exhale. We'll bring left hand down, step right foot forward for a lunge. Hands can stay down on the floor, framing right foot. You could place blocks underneath the hands. You could come up and rest the hands on right thigh. This is really about, once again, just to remind you, finding what is right for you. Sense, feel. Where do you want a little less? Where do you want a little more? Lean into the breath. Feel into your body. And connect. So when we talk connective tissue like the fascia, it is pervasive throughout your entire body, the fascia. And our ability to connect not just one part of the body, but all the parts of the body. And just like the fascia is not just in one part of the body, it's in the whole part of the body. Spreading our awareness. For me, and I think most humans, our awareness will be primarily in the head, behind the eyes, between the ears, in the thought loops, called the hamster wheel. And this is a practice that invites us outside of that, into the deeper depths of our body, not just the thoughts. Inhale and exhale here. We'll take this to a side lunge. We're going to open the hips out to the side. We're going to send the hips back and down. And now here is where you might want a block or two. You could also use a bolster, so the block would go underneath the hips. Now you could hug that right thigh in toward the torso, stay upright. You could also play with reaching forward. Slow, steady, intentional breaths. I like to remind my students that really the only thing that is required in class is your breath. Everything else is optional. I really admire the students who, in a full class with people following a flow, that if they choose to stay in down dog longer or child's pose or even come into shavasana during class and just hold it, I admire their ability to just do what they need to do. That's not something that comes easily for me. If I'm around other people who are moving, it is hard for me to not move with them. So those who really know what they need and tuning in, it's a skill. It's part of the practice. Another couple of deep breaths here. And then we're just going to come back down to a seat. bringing the legs forward. Take your block along with you to the left-hand side. We'll find that pinwheel, 90 degree shape. Reaching over to the left with that right hand, getting the stretch through the right side body. And we take this to the other side. Follow your breath. And let it lead you to those deeper layers. Allowing you to connect. Stay here or take this into the other variation of the hip opener, pigeon. Reaching that right leg, straightening back, keeping the bend in the left knee. Then square hips and shoulders forward. Fold forward or stay upright. Once you settle in, notice where you feel sensation, where it's arising. Breathe into it. Be with it. Nothing to fix, nothing to change. I was listening to a podcast the other day. It was on Being by Krista Tippett, and she was interviewing David Bornstein, who is a journalist. And he said something really interesting about connective tissue, or he made an analogy or comparison to connective tissue. He talked about the news media is like connective tissue. You know, news media connects us around the globe. It reminds us that we are one. And connective tissue, very similarly, you know, our brain is made mostly of connective tissue. But this connective tissue in the body, is like our news media. But it is the news media for what is happening inside of us internally. You know, where are we connected? Where are we disconnected? And neither place is a place to judge. It's just to notice. Like, when was the last time we really felt into our feet? Or noticed the ribs expand and contract? Or our shoulders soften? Felt the stretch on the back side of our legs and just really kind of luxuriated in it. Allowed ourselves to be with it, to be in it, to have the experience of. Slow rise. Make your way to modified side plank. So we will sweep that left leg over to the side of our mat. Reach right toes forward. Stretch right arm toward the back of our mat. And let that left ear drop to the left shoulder, stretching through the right side of the body and getting longer from back of the mat to the front of the mat. Reach right arm up. Broaden between the hands, the palms. And then thread right arm under the left side of the torso. Inhale, lift. Exhale, thread. Inhale. Final one. Inhale and exhale. We pivot everything to the back of our mat. Right knee comes down, left foot steps to the back. Find your variation of the lunge, whether you stay low, you bring blocks underneath the hands, or you start to lift the top of your head up toward the sky. Ground through your left foot, your right knee. And let the hips drop down toward the floor. And rather than just focusing on one part of the body, let your awareness flood your body. Down through your neck, your torso, your arms, your hands, your hips, your legs, your feet. Notice your capacity for breath. For connection, for presence. Side lunge, skandasana supported. If you would like, bring a block underneath your hips. Open your hips and your torso out to the long edge of your mat. You might hug. You might stay upright and hug left knee in toward your chest. Or opt to walk the hands forward and hinge. Less effort, more ease. With each breath, the overwhelm, the stress melts. You might even imagine a dial in your mind's eye that goes from 0 to 10. And that dial is doing. And if you were at a 10 or even a 5 or a 3, imagine turning it all the way to 0. And that 0 being the indicator of being in that place of being. The opposite of doing. Make your way to standing wide angled fold, straightening both legs, feet parallel. And soften the top of your head down toward the floor. Or you could stay in a half lift. Also option, so this is essentially a standing straddle. If you wanted to take this into a seat with the legs wide, you could do a seated wide angled forward fold versus this standing variation. And just play with gravity a little bit different, but knowing what is right for you. Where you can continue to cultivate connection and presence. For this very short period of time, just allowing yourself to be in your body. Nothing to change or fix. Heel toe your feet towards center. Keep the feet still wider than hips with distance, toes out, heels in. Sink the hips back and down, Malasana squat. You could place a block underneath your hips, and you could play with gravity differently here. This is happy baby. You could come onto your back and send your feet up toward the ceiling versus bringing the weight onto the feet. Remembering this is about your experience, your body. Inhale and exhale. Straighten the legs, heel toe your feet to center, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Drop your chin to your chest. Slowly rise to standing. Top of the head will come up last. Arms rise. Goalpost cactus. Arms lift your chest. Straighten the arms. Hands come behind the back. Chest expansion. Soften the knees and fold. We'll do this 2 more times. Hands drop down. Inhale, half lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold, chin to the chest. Top of the head lifts last. And arms rise. Goalpost arms. Gaze lifts. Hands come behind the back, interlace. Knees soften and fold. Release the hands, inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Chin to chest, rising with a rounded upper back. Arms rise, goalpost. Hands come behind the back. Shoulders roll back and down, knees soften and fold. Bring the hands down, bend your knees, come to a seat, and then onto your back. Just for a brief shavasana, laying on your back, letting the skin soften around the muscles soften around the bones. And the fascia holding it all together, really appreciating and being grateful for how our bodies are held together. If your awareness has drifted, bring it back to this time and space, wiggling into fingers and toes, maybe reaching arms overhead. Draw your knees into your chest. And roll to your side. And press up to a seat. Bringing hands to heart center and thanking yourself for showing up. And thank you all so much for joining me. Appreciate your presence and your time. Have a great rest of your day.